Good evening. You are watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. The Ministry of Health announces the registration of 25 new confirmed cases with COVID-19 as 61 recoveries are recorded. And the COVID-19 cases around the world exceed 1.1 million with over 60,500 casualties. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. The Ministry of Health announced the registration of 25 new confirmed cases with coronavirus COVID-19, which brings the total number registered in the Sultanate to 277, including 61 recoveries and 1 death. The Ministry of Health calls upon all to adhere to the isolation procedures by staying in an isolated room with an attached toilet and serving the isolated person from outside the room as instructed. The ministry also advises all citizens and residents to keep on washing their hands with soap and water, as well as avoiding touching the face, nose, mouth, and eyes, and following the hygienic habits when coughing and sneezing. The ministry also urges everyone to adhere strictly to social distancing instructions issued by the COVID-19 Supreme Committee and the Ministry of Health, as well as staying at home and not go out unless absolutely necessary. British Health Secretary Matt Hancock confirmed that 4,313 people have died in the UK from the new coronavirus. Hancock spoke after a vast temporary hospital for COVID-19 patients was opened at London's main exhibition centre yesterday. The Nightingale Hospital, which was built in just 9 days at the Excel Conference Centre in East London, is expected to have 4,000 beds when completed. Hancock announced plans to build 2 more improvised Nightingale hospitals in Bristol and Harrogate, alongside another 3 to be built in Birmingham, Manchester, and Glasgow. He also announced a series of medical trials, including one called Recovery, saying it was the largest of its kind in the world, with 926 patients enrolled. The number of virus-related deaths in Britain has sharply increased in the past 2 weeks. A leading government advisor said today that Britain is unlikely to lift its stringent lockdown rules until the end of May, warning that the spread of the coronavirus must first slow and intense testing be introduced. Entire countries are on lockdown, state visits cancelled, travel curtailed, key meetings postponed or moved online. If the pandemic is not brought under control by summer, it could jeopardize the annual high-level UN General Assembly meeting and the virus strike in New York, which this year is set to commemorate the organization's 75th anniversary. The General Assembly may have only a fraction of the audience. The president of the General Assembly said that the 193-member world body will make a decision in the coming month on whether the delay of the gathering set to begin on September. As the world fights what the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres calls a war against the virus, many diplomats are wondering if that life will return when the war is over. OPEC and Russia have postponed a meeting planned for Monday until later next week as a row intensified between Moscow and Saudi Arabia over who is to blame for the plunging oil prices. The meeting's delay came despite pressure from the U.S. President Donald Trump for the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and Allies, known as OPEC Plus, to urgently stabilize global oil markets. OPEC Plus is working on the unprecedented oil output curb equal to about 10% of world supply, or 10 million barrels per day, in what member states expect to be a global effort that will include the United States. Oil prices hit an 18-year low on March 30th due to the sliding demand caused by government lockdowns to contain the coronavirus outbreak and the failure of OPEC and other producers led by Russia to extend an earlier deal on output curves that expired on March 31st. As COVID-19 cases around the world exceeded 1.1 million with over 60,500 casualties, more than 11,000 medical personnel have been infected in Italy, just under 10% of the official total of the infections, and some 73 doctors have died. The head of Italy's Hospital Doctors Union said a key reason for the high contagion rate among general practitioners was that the common flu was raging at the same time as the beginning of the coronavirus outbreak in the early part of the year. At least 14,681 deaths have been recorded in Italy and around 100,019 infections. For most people, the coronavirus causes mild or moderate symptoms such as fever and cough. But for others, especially older people and people with health problems, it can cause severe symptoms like pneumonia and lead to death. Spanish police helped an elderly woman celebrate her 90th birthday as she spent her special day in quarantine with her caretaker. Police in Santander drove to Josefina's apartment yesterday and sang happy birthday while applauding her from the street below. Meanwhile, Spain's government today reported 7,026 new infections of the new coronavirus to reach around 100,024 with 809 deaths over the last 24 hours. Spain is completing its third week of the state of emergency, which the government has used to apply stay-at-home rules and a shutdown of all non-essential industries. The new coronavirus has caused a global pandemic that has crippled economies and forced restrictions on the movement of billions of people in an effort to stop the virus from spreading further and overwhelming the healthcare systems.
Non-compliance with the directives of the Supreme Committee dealing with coronavirus COVID-19 exposes you to risk and legal action. Stay safe.
The Muscat International Airport continues to receive air cargo flights from various destinations as the cargo building in the airport received Oman Air flights coming from China loaded with medical supplies for the Ministry of Health as well as necessary items to deal with COVID-19. The Oman Air operates daily cargo flights to various destinations in China and India as the flights are operated exclusively to use 100% of the plane's capacity for up to 25 tons. Meanwhile, the Oman Aviation Services Transom introduced new incentives for the prices provided by the companies as it is expected to contribute in the growth of the direct air cargo flights from and to the Sultanate. Transom also took precautionary measures to protect the employees and cargo in addition to reorganizing daily working hours. The Muscat International Airport receives cargo planes from various domestic and international companies with around 80 flights weekly with the increased demand on food supplies and other basic necessities. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's news bulletin, here are the main points once again. The Ministry of Health announces the registration of 25 new confirmed cases with COVID-19 as 61 recoveries are recorded. And the COVID-19 cases around the world exceed 1.1 million with over 60,500 casualties. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, we urge you to stay home and stay safe.